Hello and welcome to this science and tech discussion. We are in space technology. Yesterday in the previous class we were talking about various the navigation satellites. We talked about remote sensing satellites, communication satellites, then navigation satellites. India, we have a regional navigation system, IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, which is not a global system. Global system is by US, GPS is there, GLONASS by Russia is there, Galileo, it is by by European Union, BeiDou by China. So, we have a series of them, but except Galileo, all of them have military application also, but India has a program where military as well as civilian, and that is what we are talking as IRNSS or NAVIC. Okay. So, that is how it is there, and in this many applications, I mean now this NAVIC or IRNSS, we are talking about 7 satellites in orbit, and as I told you, it is totally different from the other one, the US one or the Russian one, where it is in the medium earth orbit, it is launched. This is launched in GEO or GSO, geostationary earth orbit or geosynchronous orbit, I said, and it has many applications. One is of course the terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation applications. I said it, but still I am repeating it. Number 1, terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation. Okay. Terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation. Number 2, disaster management. Okay, to deal with any disaster, that is a disaster management. See, somebody is asking last year's current, it is already there in the app, we have not removed it. So, you can watch it, it is already all the classes, the current affairs classes which you have done last month or the last 1.5 months, it is already there in the app, you can watch it, we have not removed it. Okay. Anyway, disaster management, then vehicle tracking and fleet management. Vehicle tracking and fleet management. See, how to know where are the vehicles? Suppose you have a taxi, company, taxi running company. So, where the taxis are going, at what is the present location of a particular taxi, all those things will be on real time tracking of them, and the fleet management of course. So, how this NAVIC function, I mean the same thing which I said yesterday, I have already mentioned that, and there is nothing, I mean the data will be that is it is providing. So, anytime above us these satellites will be there. So, these satellites are providing you the coordinate, the way I was talking about about the MEO, the GPS, the same activity. The only difference here is the satellites are positioned such a way that they are constantly above you. It is not moving with respect to a position on the surface of the earth, except the GSO. GSO will be moving, but it is in a precise orbit. So, please remember GEO, geostationary earth orbit, no movement of the satellite with respect to earth, but GSO, geosynchronous orbit, some movement will be there because it is at an angle to equator, 29 degrees we said yesterday. So, these satellites have a precise movement, GEO has a precise location. Using those satellites position, reverse calculation, like yesterday I said 3 equations and or rather 4 equations and 3 unknowns, the same thing will be happening here also, and that is how we are managing it. So, vehicle tracking and fleet management, then precise timing, because please remember these satellites are using rubidium atomic clock, okay, using rubidium element, rubidium as the element. So, that is called rubidium atomic clocks, and these are some of the most accurate clocks in the which we have invented so far. So, rubidium atomic clock is used for precise timing. Then in a mapping and geodetic data capture, mapping, map making, and geodetic data capture. Even for hikers and travelers and mountaineers, that is navigation for travelers, yeah. Then visual and voice navigation for drivers, visual, etc., etc. Okay. So, these are some of the applications of NAVIC, and this is there in GPS and all, but we are specifically talking about these things. Now, Suraj is saying that ISRO has given handheld devices to fishermen for receiving advance alert of any threat in the sea. Not only the threat in the sea, even the location of the fishes. ISRO is able to provide a signal to them using our remote sensing satellites. They are able to move, and they will be saying, information will be given to them in the handheld receiver that the location of the potential school of fish, that is also there. Okay. ISRO is giving handheld devices to fishermen, and that is mainly with the help of what you call the remote sensing satellites. Okay. Mainly with the help of remote sensing satellites. Okay. Please arrange a few more CSAT classes before the end of the course. Let me see. I mean, I am not committing it right now. I will just find out how many what are done, and if it is possible, I will tell you. Okay. Anyway, so this is about the remote sensing, about the navigation satellite, and very importantly, please do not forget, rubidium atomic clocks are used in our navigation satellites. Okay. There may be a question, okay, in preliminary. So, please do not forget this. So, that is how the rest of the things I have already mentioned, and 1A rubidium atomic clock failed, that is why we had to discontinue with that. Then 1H, when we launched, it did not reach the orbit because of a failure in the PSLV itself. Then 1I, we have launched it, which is functioning now. Now, 2 more spare satellites we are planning in future. So, that is about the navigation satellites. Now, I would like to add one more point or one more small topic about this. So, and I am talking about whatever it is not based on NAVIC, it is based on remote sensing satellites. Okay. But if fishermen are given for navigation for movement purpose, now there are 2 things now. Now, Suraj, I do not know what you are talking right now. See, fishermen are given alert about the potential location of the fishes, that is through remote sensing satellite. Then if they need to have a navigation, especially, yeah, I mean that I think I should tell, in the Park Strait and Park Bay, a fisherman should not cross the Indian border or either Indian territorial waters, they should not enter into Sri Lankan waters. So, they are given GPS, yes, or GPS or NAVIC based handheld receivers, so that they will not stray into the Sri Lankan waters, so that they will not stray into Sri Lankan waters. That is a different thing, that is for location. Yes, I fully agree with that, but what I was telling you that for helping them in catching the fish, that is remote sensing satellites. Okay. So, that is the difference which I wanted to say. So, rockets that with the satellites, the space and orbit, I'll talk about that, but I have not talked about rockets, please hold. Now, there is another program in India called Gagan. Okay, there is another program called Gagan. Gagan is GPS augmentation system. Or it is called Gagan's it's to augment the GPS or satellite navigation. GPS word we are using because of the American program, but it is GPS and GEO augmented navigation. Okay, the full another full name is GPS and GEO augmented navigation. We started when there was only GPS. Okay, GAGAN, Gagan, GPS and GEO augmented navigation. So, it is a SBAS, okay, it is called space based augmentation system. Augmentation means improvement. Okay, space based augmentation system means space based improvement in the navigation facility we are talking about. Okay. So, what we are doing is we are using this GPS in this Gagan program, since these were the only thing available. Now, we may be using even Navig also, we will be using GPS, GLONASS and even say Navig data for for improving the accuracy of the location. So, this is augmentation. Were you augmenting what? Augmenting the data such a way that the accuracy of the data given is improved, okay, to improve. Okay, to improve the accuracy. So, basically using this GPS, GLONASS and now even Navig for civilian use, for civil aviation. So, this is for civil aviation, especially for civil aviation. And right now what is the problem? It is short of accuracy. See, for example, if you are helping an aircraft to land in a runway, and if the accuracy is only say plus or minus say 10 meters. So, 10 meter means instead of landing in the runway, it may be landing outside the runway. If the accuracy is more than, or rather the inaccuracy is more than 10 meters, what will happen? It may be landing just outside the runway. It might have helped to bring you so close to the runway, but unfortunately, if the aircraft is not able to land in the runway itself, everything is lost. So, this is what we are trying to augment to reduce the inaccuracy, to reduce the anomaly. So, that is what Gagan is trying to do. So, it is a space based augmentation system to reduce the inaccuracies, or we want to give a proper information to the for air navigation services, okay, to improve the accuracy of data, especially for civil aviation. Already there are two such programs, this augmentation system, one above Europe called EGNOS. It is European Geostationary Navigation Overlay System. European Geostationary Navigation Overlay System, meaning This is over and above using geostationary satellite. That is what here also we are saying in a GPS and geostationary earth orbit. Both we are adding both the data from both a geostationary satellite above you plus the GPS data, both are helping in augmenting the navigation facility, the data given. That's it. So, EGNOS, European geostationary navigation. So, it is above Europe up to Africa, it is there. Then in the eastern side, see, suppose when we talk about India, see, above Europe there is a facility called EGNOS, including Africa and all. Now, in the east again Japan, they have a program called MSAS, the East Asian countries, which is called multifunctional transport satellites, or again it is called MT sorry MSAS nahi, a multifunctional transport satellite based augmentation system. Multifunctional transport satellite based augmentation system. Multifunctional transport satellites so they have a coverage in East Asia and Southeast Asia. EGNOS has a coverage from Africa to Europe. Now, above India we do not have any proper such augmentation system. So, we would like to this is EGNOS. Now, this Gagan will provide that facility to the aircrafts to add more accuracy to the data, that is the idea behind this. So, Gagan will provide coverage over Indian airspace, and the idea behind the whole thing is we will be we will establish around 15 Indian. So, it is space based. So, we are using a GPS, GLONASS, even these days we may be using NAVIC, then geostationary earth orbit, and also some radars on ground. We will use all these to provide more accurate data to the aircrafts, especially to the pilots, so that they can land or they can navigate even when the visibility and all is very poor. That is the idea behind. So, it will it will establish. So, this Gagan is establishing 15 Indian reference stations. So, there will be ground based facilities, 15 Indian reference station, then 3 Indian navigation land uplinking stations, then 3 Indian mission control centers, so all these facilities will be there, and then software and communication. So, all these things basically, see, suppose the GPS is telling, I am very clear now, the bottom line in the simple language, what is the Gagan trying to do? If the GPS is providing a data about the location, the latitude, the longitude and the altitude, there is an error of plus or minus say 6 meters in GPS. We cannot use that 6 meter for landing and all. If 6 meter error is there, it can be really problematic for the aircrafts. So, we want to further augment that data, improve that data, so that the error is minimal in millimeters, the error should be in millimeters. So, we will be using this GPS data or the GLONASS and NAVIC data, then a geostationary earth orbit satellite which are positioned above India, that also that will be revalidated with the help of that, and also radars on ground. All these put together, we will be able to augment the data, improve the data such a way that these can be used by the aircraft, by the pilots more accurately without resulting in any accident. So, that kind of a, so the accuracy, so it will help the pilots to navigate in the Indian airspace by an accuracy of 3 meters. So, after implementation of Gagan, the accuracy will improve to 3 meters. So, this will help aircrafts in landing in marginal weather and difficult approach in very poor visibility. It can help aircrafts to land even in poor visibility. Also, to help aircrafts in landing in such approaches where difficult approach, like you might have heard about Mangalore Airport. Mangalore Airport is a tabletop airport, meaning it is like on top of a hillock, and it is like a tabletop, and aircrafts will come and land on this, and on both sides it is big when what you call trenches, or other it is steep downhill is there immediately after the you might have heard about an accident happened. An Air India flight landed in Mangalore Airport, and it met with an accident and it fell into the trench. Even in Calicut, the Kozhikode Airport in Kerala, another tabletop airtop, it also met with an accident recently, last couple of years before. Again it is a tabletop, it is on top of the hill, and the hill has been flattened on the top, and the aircraft, the runway is on top, and the aircraft will come and land, and if any small overshoot and all, it may go and fall into the next trench. Okay, so that is what happened in Kozhikode recently. So, in such difficult airports, or even airports like Leh Airport, again another difficult airport to approach and land. So, in all these things, this Gagan can help pilots in further accuracy. Okay, so when there is poor accuracy in airports where there is a difficult approach while landing, airports in landing, in all these cases Gagan will be able to help. Also, when those aircrafts which are overflying India, or aircrafts overflying India, Gagan will be able to help in providing them accurate data regarding their position at any given time. Okay. So, this is a satellite based or space based augmentation system, Gagan, space based augmentation system. So, it further improve the data given by our GPS or NAVIC, and with the help of the geostationary orbit as well as ground based radar system and all. So, this is called Gagan. So, India, we have a project. Now, that is how it is there. So, that is about the satellites. Now, let us move into launch vehicles. So, rockets take the satellites to the space. After reaching the orbit, the rockets eject and come back, or the satellites stay in the rocket only. So, see, when a rocket is launched, okay, when a rocket is launched and satellite is kept inside, it will be taken to the outer space, satellite is dropped and the rocket is destroyed. See, it may have various, we will come to that, the initial stages may fall back to ocean, and some of them may burn off in the outer space itself, and others may be in the debris may circulate or other may revolve the earth. So, that is how when the remains of the rockets which are flying in the outer space, that is called this space debris. Okay, I am just coming to that. So, now Coming to the launch vehicles, now the way we have launched, or rather the one second. So, if you look at the and all the launches made by India, so let me just bring that point. Okay. So, we have the rockets. Please remember, we have the rockets or the launch vehicle and satellites which will do the function, that is what we are talking about, the satellites. Now, initially please remember we started our Aryabhat and all, that is satellites, but the Rohini satellites which we launched, which I talked about in the class, the Rohini class satellites which we have launched, that was launched precisely as a satellite. Rohini class satellites were basically for developing our launch vehicle. So, when we talk about the launch vehicle, the first generation we started, which you call SLV, the initial satellite which we launched, we can call it as the SLV3. Okay, one second. So, the first one, when we said Aryabhat was launched, when Bhaskara was launched, but in 1979 the first SLV3 it was launched, it was unsuccessful. Okay. So, Rohini was the name of the satellite, or satellite is also known as the payload. Then we launched SLV3 and E2 or E1, E2 and all. So, that is 79. Again we used another, we said satellite launch vehicle, SLV means satellite launch vehicle. And 3E1 at that time, then 3E2 we launched. Okay. So, two of them in 1979 and 1980 we launched. Then again SLV3D1, or the first time we were able to launch it was SLV3D, demonstration D1 or development we can say. So, that was in again in 1981. So, initially we started with our launch vehicles called SLV, SLV3E, SLV3E2, SLV3D1. Okay. So, all these, so we have launched. One second. Okay. Now, these initial, the SLV3, the first initial rockets which we launched, then we have launched again in SLV3 D2 was launched in 83. So, initial SLVs, satellite launch vehicles, the initial satellites are known as SLV, SLVE, then D. So, these were satellite launch vehicles, these were 4-stage vehicles. Okay, these are known as 4-stage vehicles. Now, what do you mean by stages? So, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, when we say, and on the top of it you will be keeping the satellite inside, the payload, which is to be dropped in a particular orbit, in a precise orbit. That is what precisely we do. Okay, the satellite is kept inside, so that is called the payload. But when we say it's a when we say it's a 4-stage vehicle, the meaning is it has 4 engines and 4 4 different engines and 4 different fuel. It will be burning one after the other. It will burn one after the other. See, initially when you ignite, when you start the journey, what will happen? The stage 1, that is what we will be igniting, and stage 1, once it is completed, it will burn completely. The launch vehicle may start moving. Then the stage 1 will be detached, and by the time stage 2 will start burning, and stage 2 will take the rocket further up, and then once stage 2 is completed, or just almost before completion, stage 3 will start, and then stage 4. So, please remember, when we say stage 1, 2, 3, 4, is like 4 different engines. See, in a motor car, what do? When you start the car, we will be putting, or when you start moving, in the first gear, then the second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear, like that. These days modern vehicles have many gears. The idea behind this gear system is, initially you need maximum energy or maximum force to start moving, because to overcome the inertia, the car to start moving, you need more energy. So, the speed will be less, but it start rolling. Once it is rolling, we will be changing the gear to second, then the third, then the fourth. The same thing is required in a satellite also, but there is no gear system in a satellite. Instead, we give 4 different engines. First gear is like the first engine. So, maximum thrust. So, what is the duty? What is the duty of the first stage? See, this satellite, this launch vehicle will have to lift up vertically, say almost 400 ton weight. If it has to lift up vertically, it needs lot of energy, impulse, lot of impulse is required. So, in the first stage, we need maximum thrust in minimum time, so that this vehicle can start jerking and moving up. Maximum thrust in minimum time. So, normally the first stages of every rocket, it is a solid fuel. See, solid fuel and liquid fuel like petrol, diesel, everything, liquid fuel, kerosene, liquid fuel, aviation fuel, liquid fuel. See, solid fuel's problem is, once it is burned, you cannot stop in between, the whole thing will be burned off, but it will burn very fast. That is maximum thrust in minimum time in a solid fuel. Whereas liquid fuel, we can switch off the liquid any time, we can stop the burning of the fuel, we can stop the supply of fuel. So, liquid fuel can help in accuracy. It can decide how much fuel to be used, how much fuel to be burned. Any extra fuel is there, we can keep it separately. We can provide only that much fuel which is required. So, liquid fuel can help in accuracy, but solid fuel can help in providing maximum impulse or maximum thrust. Okay, it will help in a maximum impulse or maximum thrust in minimum time. So, first stages of almost all rockets are solid fuels, and the last stage is normally liquid fuel. Why? Because here we need accuracy, precision. We have to drop the satellite. In the last stage, we will have to provide the speed required, the orbital velocity. the orbital velocity to the satellite to be in orbit. So, normally the last stage are liquid fuel, the first stage is solid fuel. So, it is a 4 stage vehicle. I am talking about SLV3, first stage solid fuel, and of course, the last stage is liquid, but depending upon the design it can be there. So, we are not that worried. So, it is a 4 stage vehicle. So, it is SLV3, and the initial Rohini class satellites were launched. Rohini class satellites were so SLV3, and what is the payload? It can carry the weight of the satellite, it can carry around 50 kilogram. What is the range? Around 150 kilometers, and stages 4 stage. That is how our launch program started. SLV3 in early 90s, and even today we are using SLV3 to launch the rockets which are used for upper atmospheric studies, or we call them as the sounding rockets. For upper atmospheric studies, 150 kilometer well within our atmosphere. Please remember, we have exosphere starting only at 400 kilometers. We have our troposphere, stratosphere, then we have the ozonosphere, mesosphere, ionosphere. Ionosphere is between 80 to 400 kilometers. So, this is well within our atmosphere. To study more about our atmosphere, because atmosphere is the least understood sphere, we have less understanding about atmosphere. So, we are using SLV3, the sounding rockets, and we are launching Rohini class satellites using SLV3. So, even today it is there. Now, further improvement in this SLV3, and we developed our ASLV. Now, the next development is ASLV, augmented satellite launch vehicle, improved augmented SLV, and the first ASLV was launched in D1. It was a failure, D1 in 1987, then ASLV D2, again it was a failure in 1988, ASLV D2 in 1988, then ASLV D3 1992, it was successful. So, first 2 were failed. ASLV D3, then again, yeah. So, this ASLV we have developed in an ASLV D4 also, but was 94. Okay, you need not remember, but 87, 88 time we started our ASLV program. I still remember at the time, to watch the launch. At the time, the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, he went to Sriharikota, like our Prime Minister Modi went to see Chandrayaan 2, and same thing happened for both of them. When they reached there, the launch was a failure in both the cases. I mean, our Chandrayaan 2 also, we can say partial successful, but generally it is a failure, we can say. Anyway, so even Rajiv Gandhi, when he went at that time in 1987, 88, I think ASLV D2 he went, and that time also the whole thing failed, it could not reach the orbit. Anyway, so augmented satellite launch vehicle. So, it was a part of our improvement in our in a launch vehicle program, improvement in our launch vehicle program. So, ASLV has a payload of around 150 kilograms and range up to 900 kilometers because of the failure, it has made a 5-stage vehicle, 5 engines, including a 0 stage. ASLV even had a 0 stage, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Instead of 4, so 5 stages they made, 5-stage vehicle. And the satellites which we launched by ASLV, they are known as SROS, SROSS, SROS satellites. What is that? SROS? Stretched Rohini satellite series. So, ASLV was a development, or rather we were developing our launch vehicle. So, we wanted to increase the capacity of SLV, that is augmented satellite launch vehicle, and the satellites kept in the engine in the launch vehicle is called SROSS, which is Stretched Rohini Satellite Series. So, that was the second level of our development. We do not have much launching right now in ASLV. ASLV was part of our development program. Then came the third and the most important, we will say PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. So, it can launch, these days PSLV can launch up to 1500 kilograms into a GTO, geostationary transfer orbit, or say around 1200 kilograms up to say around 600 kilometers in a polar sun synchronous orbit, PSSO, polar sun synchronous orbit, polar sun synchronous orbit, okay, PSSO, polar sun synchronous orbit. So, PSLV is our workhorse of ISRO. We call PSLV as the workhorse of ISRO. PSLV, polar satellite, polar word has come because initially it was for remote sensing satellites, and up to 1500 kilogram into GTO also it can be launched now, other is around 1200 kilogram up to 600, 700 kilometers. So, if the weight is more, kilometers will be less, that is all anyway. So, this also PSLV is also a 4-stage vehicle. And we started with our PSLV D1 in 1993. It was an unsuccessful launch. Then PSLV D2 in 1994, it was successful. Then we launched PSLV C1. After D2, we straight away went to, sorry, there is a PSLV D3 also, sorry, there is a D3 development, third development fight, D3, PSLV D3 in 1996, and then straight away we went to PSLV C1. That was in 1997. Now, we have seen PSLV C51, just imagine we have launched then 50 more satellites we have launched, PSLV C51 in 2021, you can imagine. So, the success story, success after that C2, C3, C4, C5 like this up to 51 we have reached, except C13, C13 we did not launch. PSLV C13 was not there. After C12, it is C14 because we do not believe in 13 number because we are Indians. No superstition, scientific temper, scientists having scientific temper. Just imagine, you just see the sequence in PSLV series, PSLV C1 to 51, only one missing in between, that is C13. That is the scientific temper of our scientists, because we are Indians. Anyway, so we did not name or we did not sequence one of those PSLVs as C13 because of the issues related to our superstition in 13 number. Anyway, so forget about that, but otherwise our scientists are doing a wonderful job, but some small things we can always adjust, we can we can forgive. माफ कर देंगे हम साइंटिस्ट को भी. Anyway, so see, like this PSLV, a 4-stage vehicle, it is launching IRS class satellites to a polar sun synchronous orbit or a smaller satellites into geostationary transfer orbit, or it can be taken to geostationary orbit also, GEO also, small up to 1500 kilogram to GEO, geostationary earth orbit, or initially it will be launched to GTO, geostationary transfer orbit. So that is how the whole thing. So about the initial phase PSLV, that is how we have done. Now coming to the stages of PSLV. PSLV 4 stages and the most successful. So we need to know a bit more about that. Okay, we need to know a bit more about that. 4 stages I said PSLV. In PSLV, we have designed in the Russian model only. So first stage is solid, then second stage is liquid, third stage is again solid, and fourth stage is liquid. 4 different engines. Solid engine, what is the minimum stages used? Normally even a 3-stage also, we will come to that. So normally, but some of the missiles which we are launching like Agni, Prithvi and all, maybe 2 stages only. Okay, so there can be even 2 stage, there can be even 1 stage, but to launch satellites into orbit where there is a lot of precision required, so normally 3 to 4 stages are there. So second stage liquid, third stage again solid, and fourth stage finally liquid. Okay, 4 different stages. We have a solid liquid sequencing. That is because we took inspiration from Soviet Union, Roscosmos, like ISRO, the Soviet Union's or the present day Russian space program, space research organization is called Roscosmos. This is a Russian space research institution. So we have taken inspiration from them, or we learned from them. So we are also following a similar pattern. The first stage is a solid stage, one of the largest first stages in the world. First stage, one of the largest first stages in the world. And it is using a special steel to reduce the weight of the casing and all for the first stage, called maraging steel. It is a special steel developed by ISRO, high strength and ductility. Okay. So lighter weight, so it reduces, because of the maraging steel, the weight of the casing, the covering has been reduced by almost half, and the fuel used in the first stage, is called hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. Of course, it is a complex chemical called hydroxyl terminated you must remember this, because we are talking about the most successful program by India, the launch vehicle program, or it is called HTPB based fuel. Okay. It is called hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. That is the fuel of the first stage. It is a solid fuel. It has to provide maximum thrust in minimum time, or maximum impulse should be there. One of the largest first stages in the world. It is using a particular steel called maraging steel, developed by ISRO to reduce the weight of the first stage. So, after the first stage is burnt, the first stage along with the engine and even the casing, the fuel tank, everything, or there is no tank where the fuel was kept, everything will detach and fall back into the ocean. When a launch takes place, the first stage will be detached and fall back into the ocean. Once the first stage burning is over, the second stage will start burning, or other second stage will start functioning. It is a liquid stage. Okay. So, second stage in PSLV, the second stage in PSLV is liquid, and and we have developed an engine called Vikas engine. The name of the second stage is known as Vikas, because we have taken ideas from the French or the European Union, the French engines called Viking engines. So, we have got ideas, or we got inspiration, we got it from Viking. So, that is we had named it as Vikas, okay, and it is liquid fuel, and the fuel used is called UDH, or unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine. Unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine. We call UDH, liquid fuel. So, second stage, so once second stage is burnt, it will be detached, third stage will start. Okay. That is how. Third stage is again solid, and here they are using a special alloy here in the third stage called polyaramide fiber, or called Kevlar, a special alloy called polyaramide fiber, or polyaramide fiber, also known as Kevlar. So, in the third stage again ISRO's improvement, a special alloy created again for more ductility, more strength, less weight, because more weight means it is difficult to carry. Okay. So, in the third stage is solid polyaramide fiber called Kevlar, and the fuel is similar to the first stage only, HTPB. Okay. The fuel is similar to HTPB. What is HTPB? Hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. Hydroxyl okay, HTPB based, similar to HTPB, hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene base. So, please remember these couple of names, because I said PSLV is the most successful of all our satellite launch vehicle, that is why it is very important, and the fourth is a solid. Now, coming to the fourth stage, it has to be liquid mandatorily, fourth stage has to be liquid. Why? Because we need precision, we have to eject the satellite in a precise orbit. Please remember, when you are launching from earth, it has to be, the satellite will have to revolve around the earth, and the satellites should be traveling at a particular orbital velocity called VO is equal to orbital velocity is equal to root under GR. You need not remember this. For Aam Aadmi, it may be a complex thing, but please remember, like we have escape velocity of 11.2 kilometers per second, we have orbital velocity at the surface of the earth as 7.9 kilometers per second. When we say orbital velocity is 7.9 kilometers per second, the meaning is that is the minimum velocity required at the surface of the earth for an object to be in orbit without falling back to earth. Orbital velocity VO is equal to the minimum velocity required for an object to be in orbit without falling back to earth at that height. Okay, whatever be the height, if you are launching at 100 kilometers above the surface, there is a minimum velocity required to be there at that height to be in orbit, otherwise it will fall back. Okay. On the surface I said 7.9, at every height it is a different orbital velocity. Why? Because there is root under GR. G is the acceleration to gravity, R is the distance between the satellite and the center of the earth. Distance between the satellite and the center of the earth is the R we are talking. Anyway, do not get into the detail, all you should know is that there should be a particular velocity at a particular height to be in orbit, to be the object to be in orbit. See, just imagine our sun and our earth, okay, just for Aam Aadmi. When our earth, those non-science graduates, that is Aam Aadmi I am talking, when the earth is revolving around the sun, if the speed of the revolution is less or rather it is reduced, what will happen? The earth will start reducing its orbital height. Finally, earth would have fallen onto the sun and we would have all died if the orbital velocity reduces. If the orbital velocity increases, what will happen? It will spiral out. It will spiral out and escape from the gravitational pull of the sun. Similarly, any satellite to be in orbit, it requires a particular velocity which we call orbital velocity at that height. So, the fourth stage, now why am I talking all these things? Because in the fourth stage of the rocket, this fourth stage should provide a precise velocity to the satellite, so that it can revolve around the earth in that particular height. Okay. So, it has to be to give that precision, it has to be liquid fuel, and fourth stage fuel is known as MMH, monomethyl hydrazine. Mohammad Shabir Ali is asking, what is so bad with 13? यही तो हमें भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. I don't believe in all these nonsense. 13 or 14, how does it make a difference to you, man? But our superstitions. See, suppose you are traveling on the road and suddenly if a cat crosses, what will happen? मर जाएगा, accident हो जाएगा, वापस जाएगा कुछ लोग. Suppose you are going for UPSC exam and suddenly you found a cat crossing, what will do? You will go back home and sleep? No. See, that is what, superstition is a big problem in our country. So, there is lot of superstition about 13 number. Like that is why in many buildings you will find 13th floor is not there, 12th floor, then 14th floor, no 13th floor. So, this is all nonsense anyway. So, that is the problem with our superstition. So, that is why we did not launch PSLV C13. Okay, no issues. So, PSLV, we have 4 stages. Please remember this name of the fuel and all, because this is the most successful program of India so far. It has 4 different stages and it is the workhorse, the most successful one. As I said, a solid, then liquid, then solid, again